Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to be filming this today. My name's Nikita. If you don't already know, I go to Imperial College London and I study EIE, which is Electronic Information Engineering, and I'm just coming on to the end of my second year. So I already posted a video about going to Imperial, including things about getting in and talking a bit about the workload, but I received so many questions in my Instagram DMs and also in the comments that I just wanted to make a whole other video answering all you guys' questions. So I'm gonna start with like some general questions, like FAQs, and then I'll dive in a bit later to the more like specific questions that you guys asked. Okay, so something I was asked is like, what's the best thing and the worst thing about going to Imperial? This is a pretty common question that people get asked on open days, and since we're not really sure about how open days are going to be occurring this year, I may as well answer this for you guys. I would definitely say the best thing about going to Imperial is just the pride that you feel for going to such a like high-ranking university. Like, not to sound conceited, but honestly that is how I feel. You know, you get a bit of like self-inflated ego and stuff. And being surrounded by people who also care about working hard is really, really nice. And the worst thing, this is something that you wouldn't really hear people say a lot, but my opinion, and this is really specific to my department, so the way that we get graded in exams is on a curve, so we're all graded against each other. They will scale the marks so that the average mark is 65. So, you know, if everybody gets like 80% in the exam, that will get scaled down to being 65. And only like a certain percentage of people can get a first and only a certain percentage of people can get a 2-1. And that is something that I really don't like about my department. I wish we could just be graded normally. There are other departments which do grade normally. My department, the E department, just don't do that. And I understand why they do. They want to retain the quality, the like specialness of having a first or a 2-1. But at the same time, it also encourages a lot of competitive behavior between people in the same cohort. And instead of working together and helping each other, it kind of becomes a race to like see who can get on top first. Somebody asked, how do you know Imperial is for you? So I would say if you really like working hard, if you really like being pushed to your limit to achieve like all your academic potential, then Imperial is the place for you. You need to be willing to do a lot of work, to spend a lot of hours devoted to your subject in order to thrive or even survive here. So yeah, I would say that. And also, if you get into Imperial, then Imperial is probably something that you can handle, so... A few people asked me how to apply to Imperial, so I applied to Imperial on the UCAS system. This is how everybody applies to UK universities. You just need to create an account in the year that you want to apply. So if you want to apply for 2021 entry, you need to create your UCAS account in 2020 in September. And then the process will take you through December up to May when final decisions come out. I was also asked what the pros and cons are of going to an international university. Obviously, there are so many pros to this. You are surrounded by people of all different cultures and identities. You get to learn so much about different people and different lifestyles and different attitudes. I love attending an international university. I love meeting people that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to meet if I went to a less like international university. The cons of going to an international university are definitely the kind of cliques that can form pretty easily. There are some nationalities and groups of people who just don't really mix with people who are not from the same country as them, and that can sometimes be kind of toxic and not very enjoyable. When I was in first year, I lived on a floor with a lot of people from China, and loads of them like didn't even speak to me. In fact, I remember one time when I was sitting in the kitchen eating my dinner, and one of the people asked me if they could separate the tables, and I thought they were separating the tables so like they could go through the middle, but then they actually put like a bench like separating the tables, and so they were all like sitting on a table together and I was sitting on my own, like eating dinner on my own, and that was just really mean and sad. Application and interview tips. So for your application, you really need the grades that are the entry requirements for your course, otherwise you're probably not going to get called for an interview. It sometimes can happen, but most of the time they won't consider you if you don't have the correct predicted grades. In your application, just make sure you're showing your passion for your subject, show things that you've done, taken initiative, gone to a lecture, gone to a seminar, read a book, done a project. They want to see like you taking your own initiative to learn more about the subject that you want to study. It's a really big commitment to do a degree, and they just want to know that you are committed to it and that you've already done things to show that you're committed to it. If you have a great application, then you will get called for an interview. Just to give you an idea of timescale, I applied for Imperial in January, and I was called for an interview in February, and I think later on in February I was offered a place. They actually recommend that you apply as early as possible, so I think the first UCAS deadline is around like October, and then I don't know when the final deadline is, but they just say to make your application as early as possible. That way you'll be eligible for more scholarships and they'll have more time to review your application, so you could have a higher chance of getting in. I was also asked how hard it is to get into Imperial, so like I've said before, you really need to have the predicted grades. Like if you don't have the predicted grades, like you really cannot expect to get in or to get an interview. You can actually look on the Imperial website, it will have an admissions ratio, so I think for my course it's a 6:1 ratio. There's other courses that have much higher, such as like mech eng and aero. So I think mechanical engineering has like something like 14:1 and aeronautical engineering has like even higher. So yeah, it's pretty competitive. And I think they shave a lot of people down at the interview process. This is just coming from my own personal experience. When I went to the interview, I met loads of people and not a single one of them was at Imperial when I joined. What is the jump from school to university like? Okay, so this is a really good question. So when I was in school, I went to a really nurturing school. The teachers really cared about your learning experience. They cared about bulking you up with the right tools, the right knowledge to go off and face the exam boards and get an A star on your A level. But at university, your lecturers are the ones setting the exams and they want to test you. So there's not really any camaraderie as such between students and teachers as there was in school, especially for me. But your lecturers are there for you. If you have questions, they'll reply to them, send them an email, go and like see them in their office in their like office hours, and they are willing to help you, but it's more like you have to go and chase it rather than them being there for you and giving you everything you need. I was also asked about the mental health issues at Imperial and why there are so many people at Imperial with mental health problems. And I can only speak from my own experiences. I haven't suffered with any mental health problems at Imperial. However, I can see how the workload can be very stressful. I can see how it can be very stressful to live in a city and feel pretty alone if you're just moving there for the first time. Also, it can be very frustrating that the mental health services at Imperial are not great. There is a really large wait time if you want to see a counsellor, and often it can feel like they're not there for you when you really need help. It's really important to find people who can be there for you, and I know not everyone is lucky enough to have amazing friends like immediately, but you just need to know that like there are people who can look out for you. If you're in first year and you're living in halls, you have sub-wardens, you have wardens, you have your hall seniors, you have your academic and wellbeing year representatives, you have your personal tutor, you normally have a senior tutor who is looking after your whole year, and these are all people you can go to talk about things immediately. They're not going to be a counsellor, but they'll be there for you, hopefully make you feel less alone. Everyone has doubts. Most people at some point feel like they're not worthy of being at Imperial, but just know that, you know, you were chosen for a reason. But if you need to take time out, they will let you. No one's gonna force you to study something that you don't want to study. Nobody is gonna force you to do an exam if you are mentally like unable to do it. Another question I was also asked is about imposter syndrome and just general feelings of not feeling good enough or not feeling like you belong at Imperial. It's pretty likely when you come here, this is gonna be like the most intense like academic experience of your life. Especially around exam time, it gets super intense and super difficult. And you know, there's gonna be people who are better than you, who find it easier than you, but there are also gonna be people who are just doing a really good job of acting like they find it easy. And it really doesn't matter if you're surrounded by people who are finding it really easy, people who are pretending to find it easy, or surrounded by people who are also struggling like you, because that doesn't affect how you're coping with the situation. You know, everybody is at Imperial for a different reason. It may be that you're really good at grasping new concepts. It may be that you're someone who works really hard and that's how you got in. But you just need to know why you're there and play to your strengths and know like it's okay because you've survived 100% of your bad days so far. How important is further maths? I would say in first year, there is the biggest difference between people who did further maths and did single maths. They want to catch everyone up to the same level, and some people will just be at a higher level already and they won't have to work as much, and then it will be a really big shift for people who haven't done further maths. You basically have to learn a whole new A level in like 8 weeks, and then on top of that you get taught new stuff as well. So there is definitely a correlation between people who did single maths and people who are resitting maths. So I did single maths with mechanics, so I didn't do any statistics when I was in sixth form. I ended up failing one of my maths exams. We had 2 maths exams and I had to resit one of them. I'm pretty sure everyone at the resit did single maths. Now, that doesn't mean everybody who does single maths will fail it. There are lots of people who do single maths and don't fail it. And anyway, like, also it's okay to fail like one module. You're allowed to fail 2 modules and resit them and still continue on to the second year if you pass the resit. Like, if they let you into the university having only done single maths, then you can probably handle it and you will probably be able to do the degree. Honestly, the thing that I found hardest was in my second year, we did a probability and statistics module, and obviously having done like pretty much no probability before, it was really disheartening. Like, after the first lecture, I could no longer understand what was going on, and I had to stop going to lectures because it was going too fast for me, and I would just have to like learn it on my own. So for me, that's been the hardest part about doing single maths. I was also asked about switching courses. I just want to first of all say that you should not apply to Imperial with the mindset that you are unsure about your course. When you apply, you should be pretty sure, like, this is the course I want to do. And also, don't think that you can like get in on one course which is less competitive and then once you're in, be able to switch to a different course. There are courses you're allowed to interchange between. So I do EIE, and there is like a sister course to mine, Triple E. We have a lot of shared lectures. However, you have to make your decision in the first week of university if you want to do EIE or Triple E. That is the only time you're allowed to change. Any time after that, you can't change. I know they actually changed this about Triple E and EIE so that we have like the first year is joint together and then things start to differ in second year. I know of one girl who was on Triple E, and in like the first few days of university, she switched onto, oh my gosh, I can't remember if it was like materials. I don't remember what it was. I think it was like materials. It really depends, like, if you're allowed to switch. It's really rare and uncommon, as I said before. You definitely can't switch from a course that has higher grade requirements or that is more competitive. It just depends what spaces they have available for you, and that will depend on the year. There's not like one course that lots of people can switch onto. It just depends on the availability. What A-levels did you do? Okay, so I did maths with mechanics, physics, chemistry, and I did AS English, which I really loved but was so bad at. Like, I was so bad at that. Okay, I've been talking for like, oh my goodness, 35 minutes? Anyway, those are all my questions. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to know anything else, just comment down below or send me a DM if you want it to be more private. If you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. It's such a commitment. I appreciate you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye!